One of the biggest mysteries and perhaps biggest questions surrounding the Detroit Lions has been the question of what to do with quarterback Jared Goff. A lot of people have inputted their opinion on this matter, but in today's episode, I will give my opinion on what the Lions must do in regards to their quarterback. Stay tuned, everybody. It's about to get fun.
It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy,
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM, Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and we're diving in right now. So I just want to say welcome all back to the channel. Thank you all for your view. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for everything that you do. You guys are the reason why I do this channel. I just want to say that again and again. God bless. Let's get into the content. But before we get into the content really quickly, I just want to, again, give a big shout out to all the fans. Big shout out to all those that continue to come back to this channel. We have already surpassed 1,000 subscribers. So thankful to all the fan support. So thankful to the community. So thankful yet again to Derek of Lions Syndicate. Absolutely has been a terrific friend. Thank you all for getting me back up on my feet. Now we just need to get to those 4,000 watch hours. Then I can get remonetized, and hopefully from there we can get back to where this channel used to be before YouTube took it down. But with that having been said, let's get into today's content. So here's the thing, folks. When we're talking about the Detroit Lions, one of the biggest questions, one of the biggest hot button topics, if you want to talk about it in that light, has been the question of what the thunder do the Lions do in regards to quarterback Jared Goff. Again, if you've been with me since the very beginning, going all the way back to the early days of my first channel, you've known that I have been probably, if not the biggest Jared Goff supporter in the entire Detroit Lions community. There has not been anybody else that has been as big of a supporter, has not been anybody that has lent their voice to the cause of Jared Goff being the Lions quarterback as much as me. And I will say this, Jared Goff has definitely proven at least what I've been saying to be correct. I'm not saying that, again, I have any insider knowledge. I'm not saying I'm affiliated with the Lions at all. I'm just simply saying that Jared Goff has done such an excellent job that what he has done has allowed me to have a very good platform. Well, here's the thing. Jared Goff, again, if you talk to Lions fans or you talk to Detroit media, if you go back to the original conversation, everybody wanted to get rid of him. Like, there were very few people that were high on Jared Goff. I was one of the few. And a lot of people kept putting the label that he's a bridge quarterback, he's average, he's washed up, he's never going to be a franchise quarterback, blah, 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 blah. Well, that was what the narrative used to be. The narrative now is significantly different, and the reason for that is, well, one, the way that Jared Goff has played over the last year, but also the fact that the Lions have confirmed on multiple occasions by Brad Holmes that they are in contract talks with him to give him a contract extension. They have said repeatedly they are in open dialogue with both Jared Goff and his camp, including his agents. So that has completely changed the whole narrative. But what I'm going to do in today's episode is I'm going to, as my title states and as the thumbnail image states, I am going to provide information. I'm going to provide a logical, statistically backed argument on why I believe Jared Goff has not only proven that he deserves to be paid, but that the Lions absolutely must make a decision much sooner rather than later in regards to paying him. So let's get into the content. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of this, so to speak. So let's go back to the start of the 2022 season in terms of what Jared Goff has done. If you go back to the start of 2022, Jared Goff has a 10-9 record. that doesn't sound all that promising. That's almost a 500 record. But you have to consider a couple of factors. One, when the Lions were taking over in the start of 2022, they had made improvements, but nobody was going to figure out what the Lions were going to do until the end of the year because there were still a lot of questions. Hey, is the Lions' new offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, going to somehow get this offense up and running? Are the Lions going to be able to recover from the fact that they went 3-13-1 the year prior? There were a lot of questions surrounding 2022. Well, obviously, the Lions finished 9-8. Jared Goff had himself a career year, and that's the story. But let's go back to the 2022 season here. If you take a look at those 8 losses that the Lions had in 2022, 2 of them you can directly attribute only to poor offensive performance. The rest of them could either be a mix of both or primarily on the defense. And the 2 bad offensive performances that I'm primarily referring to, and I'm talking about total offense, I'm not talking about just Jared Goff, is the Cowboys game and the Patriots game. You go back to those 2 games, the Lions offense could not do diddly poo. The offense was just not there. And you can say it was injuries, you can say it was the opponent, you can say it's Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter. The point is, those were the 2 games that the Lions offense was just absent. It was just nowhere to be found. It was AWOL. Well, here's the thing. Otherwise, the rest of 2022, Jared Goff and the rest of the offense looked pretty damn good. And when I mean pretty damn good, I mean pretty damn good. It was a top 5 offense overall statistically in terms of total yardage, in terms of passing yards. I mean, this was a dynamic offense. And it shows in how Jared Goff was received by his peers and also based upon his statistical output. Because in 2022, Jared Goff was a top 10 quarterback. I'm telling you this. I have gone over this so many times. It's like a record with me. But if you think about it, look at the stats from 2022. Again, I'll put them back up on the screen so y'all can see it. But it's like, dude, Jared Goff completed 65% of his passes. He had almost 4,500 passing yards. He had almost 30 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions. He actually had only 7 interceptions, had a 63.3 QBR rating according to ESPN, and a 99.3 passer rating. Every single one of those statistics that I just put up on the screen, from the yards all the way down to passer rating, was all top 10, with 2 of them, in fact, being in top 5 consideration. And because of that performance, because of those numbers, Jared Goff was voted number 66 in terms of top 100 players by his fellow players in the NFL. So, for all those people that don't like Jared Goff, it's like, listen, you need to get over yourself. The players have spoken. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have spoken. The Lions have spoken. Jared Goff is the quarterback of the Lions going forward for at least the substantial future. And on top of that, he is considered one of the best players in the NFL, again, based upon the top 100 player rankings. Now, that was 2022. Now we get to the start of 2023. And again, one of the biggest questions that a lot of people had was, okay, that's what Jared Goff did in 2022. He had a top 10 season, top 5 season statistically, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Can he do it again in 2023? Well, here's the thing. So far, Jared Goff has picked up right where he left off in terms of his statistical dominance. Again, you take a look at the stats. The stats are actually even better than what he did so far in 2022 for 2023. Take a look at these stats so far for Jared Goff in 2023. He's completed over 71% of his passes, almost 600 yards through 2 games. He has 8.2 an average a throw. He has 4 touchdowns to only 1 interception. He has a 75.3 QBR rating according to ESPN and a 109 passer rating. Every single one of those statistics, save the completion percentage, is top 5, and the completion percentage is just outside of top 5. It's ranked number 6. So you're talking about a quarterback right now that is playing at a top 5 level, not top 10, top 5 level. Yards, average per throw, touchdowns, QBR, pass rating. Jared Goff's got the numbers, folks, and Jared Goff is doing exactly what he did last year, this year. So we can't debate on that one as far as what Jared Goff can or cannot do. He picked up exactly where he was last year. But again, we're just getting warmed up here on MCM because you all know that this is just getting started for me. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to look even further into this. If you go to 2023 so far and you go to Next Gen Stats, there is a nice little statistical algorithm that Next Gen Stats does, which is called expected completion percentage. And here's the thing. expected completion percentage is based off of the probability factors such as wide receiver separation. It's based off of pass rush separation in terms of when the defender is in close proximity to the quarterback getting rushed. It's also based on where the wide receiver is on the field as far as how far they're down the field, how close they are to the sideline. You get what I'm saying here. If you go to Next Gen Stats, currently, right now, Jared Goff's expected completion percentage is 65%. Well, I just said his actual completion percentage is 71.4%. So Jared Goff has got a plus completion percentage in relation to those two of 6.4%. Now, what does that possibly mean? Well, it means one of two things. It either means that Jared Goff is throwing much more precise, much more accurate passes into tighter windows, because again, we're talking about wide receiver separation, we're talking about where the wide receiver is on the field, or it means that Jared Goff is making throws while he is under heavy duress. Now, here's what I can say for a fact. You go to Next Gen Stats even further here, and I'm going to show you what I mean here. There is a nice little chart algorithm that Next Gen Stats already has in terms of wide receiver separation for the Lions wide receivers, both for the Seahawks game and for the Chiefs game. Let's take a look at the Chiefs game first real quickly. I'll put this chart up. You take a look at the chart. The chart right now, as far as league average in terms of wide receiver separation from a defender, is 2.94 yards. If you take a look at this chart, there's only two wide receivers that actually meet or are above average, which is St. Brown, who is right there at the cusp of 2.9, and Sam Laporta, who's at 3.37. The two wide receivers that are below average are Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones. Now, here's the thing. Marvin Jones I'm not really going to say too much about because so far he's been a non-factor. But Josh Reynolds has been by far, otherwise, opposite of St. Brown, the most productive wide receiver that we've had. So the fact that Jared Goff is able to get a lot of production out of Josh Reynolds despite the tight, sticky coverage, that is impressive. Now, I do know that on that particular picture, there is something about Brock Wright having a massive spike outside of that average. But so far, Brock Wright's only had 2 catches for 17 yards. I didn't really think that was that massive of a detail to go over. So, that was the Chiefs. I wanted to make sure I explained all that. Now, let's take a look at the Seahawks really quickly. Again, keep that number, that league average separation of 2.94 yards. Now take a look at what Next Gen Stats has for the Seattle Seahawks game. You take a look at every single wide receiver, St. Brown, Reynolds, Laporta, Khalif Raymond, all of them are well below the average. St. Brown is at 1.69 yards. Josh Reynolds was the best at 2.75, but still significantly short. Laporta, 2.5 yards, and Khalif Raymond, 2 yards even almost. You're talking about Jared Goff having to throw balls into very tight coverage, very sticky coverage, and he's still completing 6% higher than what his expected completion percentage is. So what does that mean? The translation is that Goff is having a higher completion percentage overall, despite wide receivers not really meeting the league average of getting wide receiver separation from their defenders. Meaning that Jared Goff's ability to, as I said, complete passes is due much more to him being accurate and precise rather than having pressure being in his face all the time. Because again, we know Jared Goff is behind a top 3 offensive line, even if it is banged up right now at the moment. But still, the fact that Jared Goff has such a high expected completion percentage versus his actual completion percentage is something to behold. It actually shows just how much further Jared Goff is playing in regards to what the expected outcomes are. So that is something that is It's something that is extremely important when we're talking about whether or not Jared Goff could get a contract extension or whether I say he should get one. Now, moving on even further here. I then decided to go even further with this. I then decided to say, okay, here. Obviously, the NFL is a league that is about what have you done for me lately. I just told you guys what Jared Goff did last year in relation to this year in terms of what's all gone on. But I decided to say, okay, here. Obviously, the Lions started becoming a winning program again, actually started gaining recognition when you go back to week 9 of last year when we won against the Packers at home 15-9. So I was like, okay, here. Let's go back to ESPN. Let's take a look at every single game log that Jared Goff had and compile all the stats from week 9 of last year to what happened week 2 of this year. And let's take a look at those statistics. I'm going to tell you this right now. The numbers are absolutely just bewildering. here's what I can say. Again, when you compile what he's done so far in 2023, 71.4 completion percentage, almost 600 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 75.3 QBR, 109 passer rating, and then you combine what he did from week 9 to the end of 2022, which is 223 completions, 338 attempts for 2,534 yards, 17 touchdowns to 1 pick with a 65.8 QBR, which is 103.8 passer rating. When you combine all those statistics together to say, okay, what has Jared Goff done since week 9 of last year? This is what you get for Jared Goff's statistical prowess, for his statistical output. Since week 9 of 2022, including the first 2 weeks of this year, Jared Goff has 283 completions to 408 attempts, 3,110 yards, 21 touchdowns to 2 interceptions with a 67.4 QBR rating and a 106.8 passer rating. I don't have to tell you all right now, but those are some damn fine numbers. You are talking, once again, a top 10, top 5 production rate from Jared Goff since week 9 of last year. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is this. It's not just from the beginning of 2022 to now. It's also in terms of the fact that if you take a look at how this Lions team has been able to turn around their success from being a 1-6 program to a 9-8 program and then going into where they are right now, a lot of that success, a lot of that turnaround can be attributed to the fact that Jared Goff has played lights out for well over a year in terms of being a quarterback for the Detroit Lions. So, I was making that point as well. Now, we're again going to go further into this because I'm trying to make this point as absolutely crystal clear as possible, because I know that there are just some Goff haters out there that just hate on Goff just on pure principle and don't give a thunder about the stats. They don't give a thunder about the historical trends. They don't give a thunder about anything other than the fact they just don't like Goff, either because of his playing style, they think he has a noodle arm, blah, 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 blah. Speaking of noodle arm, let's consider this. Jared Goff, as we already know, has been heavily criticized in the past for not pushing the ball down the field. Yet, let's understand something here. For the start of this year and going into last year, Jared Goff has shown a very good ability to know when to uncork it. I mean, we saw it all last year. The throws to Khalif Raymond, the throws to DJ Chark, and we've already seen it this year. Throws to Amon-Ra St. Brown, throws to Khalif Raymond. I mean, Jared Goff definitely has the ability to uncork the deep ball and definitely get the ball to his receivers down the field. We saw it all last year. We've already seen it this year. But let's take a look at what the stats have to say. If you go to NFL.com and you take a look at these stats, this is what's going to blow your mind. In 2022, Jared Goff was 5th in first down conversion throws, or first down percentage throws, on throws of 38.7%. What that means is 38.7% of the time when Jared Goff made a throw, it was for a first down. So at the very least, you're talking about Jared Goff's throwing distance of 10 to 20 yards, because in order to get a first down, it has to be 10 yards. So that is what that means right there. Now, if you go further into the stats, Goff was also second in terms of passes of 20 yards or more with 57, only behind Patrick Mahomes, who had 73. So now you're talking about a range of 20 to 39 yards. Because then the next statistical category for Jared Goff is Goff in 2022 was also tied for second in passes of 40 yards or more with 12. Again, only behind Patrick Mahomes, who had one more with 13. So in 2022, you have a guy who can throw the intermediate routes and the short routes rather well, 10 to 20 yards, picking up 38.7% first down conversion rate on throws of that range. You have a guy who can throw the ball medium to long very well. He was second in the league in terms of passes traveling 20 yards or more, only behind Patrick Mahomes. And then you also have a guy who was tied for second behind Patrick Mahomes in terms of long ball throwing. That was 2022. Where's Jared Goff so far in 2023? In 2023, Jared Goff is 4th right now in terms of first down percentage throws at 40%. 40% of the time when Jared Goff drops back to throw, it's for a first down. And so far, Jared Goff is also 3rd in the NFL in terms of passes of 20 or more. He doesn't have any statistical output for passes of 40 or more, but again, he's already 3rd in passes of 20 or more, and he's 4th in terms of first down conversion rate on throws. So again, like I've been saying, Jared Goff picked up exactly where he left off from last year going into this year. There's been virtually almost no difference. So, if we finally consider this, because I think, yep, this is my last page here, because, like I said, I bring statistics, I bring receipts. Let's consider this. This is where I'm going to put this all together. If we consider this, in this offseason alone, 6 quarterbacks have gotten massive deals, and if you consider the restructuring that Patrick Mahomes got yesterday, you would also consider that as a 7th. But that's a restructuring. That's not necessarily a new deal. I'm talking about brand new spanking deals, like you just put this all together. Take a look at these deals. Joe Burrow has gotten the most money out of all the new deals because he was the last one to sign a contract. Joe Burrow's contract, 5 years, $275 million, $55 an average a year. Justin Herbert, 5 years, $262 million, $262.5 million, pardon me, $52.5 average a year. Lamar Jackson, 5 years, $260 million, $52 average a year. Freaking Jalen Hurts, 5 years, $255 million, $51 an average a year. Daniel Jones, 4-year, $160 million contract, $40 an average a year. And Derek Carr, 4-year, $150 million contract, $37.5 an average a year. What am I trying to show with those numbers? What I'm trying to show is this. Is Jared Goff better than Derek Carr? Yes, he is. Is Jared Goff better than Daniel Jones? Yes, he is. If you realistically think about it, the longer the Lions wait to sign Jared Goff to a contract extension, the more expensive it's going to be to extend him. If I had to take a guess right now, because again, we're talking about the disparity between those 6 deals. The disparity lies between Jalen Hurts' contract and Daniel Jones' contract. Because again, Jalen Hurts got a 5-year, $255 million contract. Daniel Jones got a 4-year, $160 million contract. If you take a look at where Jared Goff's contract is, it's right underneath in terms of value to Derek Carr's contract. So if I had to take a guess, if the Lions were to try and re-sign Jared Goff right now, his value would be somewhere in between where Jalen Hurts' contract is and Daniel Jones' contract is, which if you think about it, that is a $100 million range right there, because 255 to 160, that's $95 million. And that's a lot of money that you can start wiggling around with. So what I'm trying to say here is this. The Lions can ill afford to wait and draw out contract talks with Jared Goff. Jared Goff has been playing at a top 10, now going into a top 5 level now for going on a whole year. And it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. So this is what you have to consider. Because again, you have to consider everything when you're doing contract negotiations. Consider how Jared Goff got those statistical numbers that I was just talking about recently. He got all those statistical numbers last year with Chark being injured most of the year, DeAndre Swift being injured most of the year, Hawkinson being traded, and Jamison Williams hardly if ever seeing the field. The O-line was not fully healthy once during last year, hasn't been fully healthy in 2 years except for last week's game against the Chiefs. And has achieved, and again, I know a lot of people are going to try and chastise me for this considering he just broke this, but he's achieved the 3rd longest active throw history with interception streaks, such as, what I mean by that meaning, 3rd longest active throwing streak without having thrown an interception in NFL history at 383. It just got broke last week when he threw that interception for the Seattle Seahawks. But again, who's he behind in that streak total? 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So that's something to behold as well. And then finally, Jared Goff went to his 3rd Pro Bowl last year, which was the first Lions quarterback to go to a Pro Bowl game since 2014 when Matthew Stafford did it. My whole point is this. Jared Goff, as my title states, he has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he deserves a new contract deal. He deserves an extension. He deserves to be paid. But the question is, and rather what I'm imploring the Lions to do, you need to get this contract done sooner rather than later, because the longer you wait, the more the value is going to go up. And I guarantee you this, the Lions do not want to play that game. It's like, listen, you know what you have in Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a top 10, top 5 quarterback right now. Nobody's going to seriously debate me on this one. And if you do, you'd be crazy. My whole point is this. Get the deal done sooner rather than later. Save yourself some money. Lock up your starting quarterback for at least the next 4 to 5 years. You've got yourself set up for at least the next 4 or 5 years before you even have to seriously think about finding another guy. That's my point. But anyway, I think I have sufficiently, gone over this topic, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. I'm going to let it go. I look forward to your guys' comments. Again, please, please, please be respectful. And with that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM, Motor City Mania. If you liked what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to do one of these three things. Like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past, I highly encourage y'all to do this if you forgot to do so at the time, or if you just subscribed and have not had a chance to do so, make sure you hit that bell notification icon that's at the bottom of the page. Again, I'm so thankful that we've already gotten over 1,000 subscribers, but let's keep that subscriber count going up. It really helps out the channel. And again, I want to get this channel back up and running as quickly as possible in terms of subscriber count and in terms of all the other things that I used to have with my previous channel. But again, I'm so thankful for everything you guys have already done already. And with that, I also encourage y'all, please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere that you can with anybody and everybody that you can. And with that being said, folks, this is MCM Motor City Mania signing off for now. And until the next time we meet, I'll see y'all in the next episode.